Hi. Welcome to our channel. Rathna Sir Maths Classes.
For most of human history, we were just completely wrong about something as basic as how a plant eats. Seriously. Today, we're going to dive into a scientific mystery that took 2 millennia to crack. And it all starts with a tree, a mouse, and believe it or not, an idea from one of the greatest minds ever, who happened to be totally wrong.
Yeah, for centuries, a single, simple idea about the natural world held sway, and it came from one of history's greatest thinkers.
And get this, for over 2,000 years, this was just scientific fact. But it took one beautifully simple experiment to finally challenge this ancient idea and, well, plant the first real seed of doubt. So let's start with this 2,000-year-old myth. It's an idea that, on the surface, makes perfect sense, right? Plants grow by eating dirt.
Yeah, this long-held belief seemed so obvious. I mean, where else would a giant tree come from? But as we're about to see, the truth was way more complex, and it was hiding in plain sight the entire time. Okay, so who was the first person to really push back on this? Well, our scientific story really kicks off with a man from Belgium and a single, very famous willow tree.
All right, so back in 1648, a Belgian scientist named Jan Baptista van Helmont, he decides to test Aristotle's idea directly. He sets up this brilliantly simple experiment that, get this, would take 5 full years to complete. And the result? It was absolutely stunning. The tree had gained over 164 pounds, but the soil? It had lost barely a couple of ounces. This was the huge turning point. I mean, if the tree wasn't eating the soil, where in the world did all that new tree come from? So, von Helmont's conclusion was that all that weight must have come from the water he was adding. And look, that was a pretty good guess, but it wasn't the full picture. Over the next century, other scientists like Stephen Hales started looking closer. He was actually the first to suggest that leaves were for gas exchange, and that maybe, just maybe, there was an invisible ingredient involved. Something in the air itself, and maybe even sunlight. And this is where our story really pivots. We go from what plants eat to what they breathe, and we have Joseph Priestley to thank for this. So Priestley did these really cool experiments with candles, mice, and mint plants. And what he found was this startling relationship. Whatever animals and fire did to the air, plants seemed to do the exact opposite. They reversed it. Okay then, building on Priestley's work, another scientist, Ingenhousz, adds the final, absolutely crucial pieces to the puzzle. He discovered this air-purifying magic only happens in the green parts of the plant, and, this is key, only when it's exposed to sunlight. With that, boom, the core mystery was solved. Now that the historical mystery was solved, scientists could finally put a name to it all and decode the 2 fundamental engines of life here on Earth. The first process, and the one you probably remember from school, is photosynthesis. This is the amazing process where plants literally create their own food. It's why we call them autotrophs, which just means self-feeders. Think of it like a recipe, right? The plant takes carbon dioxide from the air, pulls up water from the soil, soaks up energy from the sun, and then uses the special green ingredient in its leaves, chlorophyll, to cook it all up. The second big process is respiration. And no, this isn't just breathing in and out. It's how all living cells, plants and animals, break down their food to unlock the energy that's stored inside. And here's where it gets really cool. When you put these 2 processes side by side, you see something amazing. They're perfect mirror images of each other. Photosynthesis uses light to build and store energy as food. Respiration, which happens all the time, day and night, is the process of unlocking and releasing that very same energy. So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? Well, it means these 2 processes form this beautiful, interconnected cycle that powers pretty much all life on our planet. It's actually really simple and elegant. Plants release the oxygen that we animals need to respire, and then we animals release the carbon dioxide that plants need for photosynthesis. The waste product of one is literally the fuel for the other. It is the ultimate recycling system. But of course, nature loves to break its own rules, right? So not all plants play by the standard photosynthesis rulebook. You've got these weirdos like parasitic plants that just steal food, fungi that feed on decaying stuff, and even carnivorous plants like the Venus flytrap that eat insects to get a little extra nitrogen boost. And that brings us to our final thought. We started with a simple, wrong idea about plants eating dirt, and we've ended up uncovering this incredibly elegant planetary cycle that keeps our entire world alive and breathing. This delicate balance, discovered over 2,000 years of curiosity and experimentation, is the very engine of life. So it leaves us with one really critical question. What happens when we throw that engine out of balance?
If you like this content, please subscribe and like and share to your friends. Thank you. See you all with the next video.